Hello and welcome to another episode of Extra Vibes. This time we're doing the top 5 bands to see this summer. Of course, I'm joined by none other than Lee Graham. Of course, you got the Just Push Play Festival right around the corner.
Yeah,
So
end of July, man.
Exactly. So we thought, you can't do a better time to do a video like this than now.
Sounds good to me.
Exactly. So we'll get straight into things. What is your first choice?
So my first choice is a band I've actually had at Just Push Play, but they're a band I've liked for a long time, and that is my good friends over at Gorilla Riot. They are, I think the guys are one of the finest bands out there. First caught them at Crazy Cowboy Festival a few years back now. I'd heard their music, but I'd not seen them at that point. At that point, I was just enjoying what I'd heard, and seeing them at Crazy Cowboy, just like it's like one of those light bulb moments that went off, and it was one of those moments where you're like, okay, the recordings are good, but up live they're up that one step ahead. I was supposed to be going and seeing them a couple of weeks ago. They've recently done some shows with Airborne, and they guys was going down to the show in Norwich, which was the one that was local to us, to go to that, but unfortunately due to circumstances beyond their control, they actually ended up missing their set time. They ended up holding back, trying to do a favour for Airborne and picking something up for them, some gear and stuff, drum kits and that kind of thing that was getting used for the festival shows for Airborne. But sadly, that then meant they hit all the traffic all the way from. No. I think they were down in Frome the night before, so they had a hell of a drive as it was. And I was literally standing in the queue when Deggy texted me saying, "I don't think we're gonna." We're not going to make it, mate. We're supposed to be on in 15 and we were about 40 minutes away. But so I didn't get to see him, sadly, but the guys did come up. We had a bit of a catch up, which was nice. We just hung back and had a beer with them. But they're doing some shows across the summer, including their headlining show near us, MoFest, which is at Melbourne Rock Club, on the August Bank Holiday weekend. It was a great lineup that Mark's organised down there. Got them a massive of the 2 headliners. And then sort of bands on the undercard as well. But yeah, I challenge Gorilla Riot, one of those bands. I challenge anyone to watch them and not have a good time. It's as simple as that. I think there's some of the finest songwriters going when they're playing live. They're just like there's a real gang mentality, which I think comes through from the boys in their performance. So yeah, don't never miss Gorilla Riot live.
A lot of people say they've got that extra something live.
They have.
There's some. I mean, I've not seen them yet live, but many people do say that. I interviewed them with Aaron quite a long time ago now. It's like in the midst of the whole lockdown thing.
Oh, of course, you had Arjun and Deggy on it.
Yeah. Arjun dressed for some reason in the middle of summer in a Santa outfit. No idea why. We still don't know to this day. Who knows? But yeah, you never know. Might see them one day when they come around that Nottingham way. But my first choice, they kind of crept in at the last because I noticed that they've just announced a tour. It's Inglorious.
Cool.
Yeah, they've just kind of announced one in, I believe it's like right at the end of summer. I think it's like early September, so I can kind of get away with it. Yeah. Obviously, they've been about for a while now, haven't they? They're just a great kind of enjoyable classic rock kind of band, and Nathan's just done the that kind of supergroup album, hasn't he? With Iconic, yeah, which is kind of a left field thing, but that's interesting to see.
I was interested by that because I had Nathan on the radio show when we were talking about the album when it was released.
Yeah,
the Glorious album last, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've got some exciting things I'm doing. I'm doing an album," and I was sort of like trying to get out. He said, "I'll tell you when you've stopped recording," sort of thing. Because I met Nathan a few times, mainly through work with Stone Dead, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm doing an album with Tommy Aldridge, man," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah,
but it sounds great from what I'm hearing of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've not heard all of it yet, but I've heard the singles. Sounds really good. Yeah. It's great, enjoyable stuff, and I think that people perhaps because Inglorious have been around for a while now, people kind of maybe they got too used to them. But I think, you know, they've got Danny now on guitar, and, you know, obviously the last album I thought was great. And, you know, I think it's they're a great band to just go and see live, you know. Certainly a band I'll go and see. So
they're another band similar, and I think they're the band that do one up themselves live. I, you know, seen them before and after the sort of lineup changes that have gone throughout the years. I mean, going back, I mean, the first time I saw them was Ramblin' Man Fair 2015 or 16, I think it was. So, you know, going sort of way back with them, but they're just one of those bands that are real power force live. And I think because of some of the comments that were coming out after the lineup changes happened, I think that almost added to their fire in their gut when they were live. Because I saw them on the first tour that they did with Danny and Dan on guitars and everyone else, and Vinny on bass. And it felt like they really came out to prove a point. And then when I saw them a few months later at Stone Dead Festival, when I was working there, they felt like they'd really gelled as a unit completely. And then I saw them a couple of months after that at Ramblin' Man. Ramblin' Man and then Stone Dead. And each time they just seemed to get and sort of going further up that ladder of just how powerful they are as a unit.
This is it for me. I think they're just, you know, you've got a group of great musicians. You know, Nathan's a great vocalist. You know, I think you can, particularly with the catalogue of songs they've got now as well, you know, you can just go there and have a great time with it. You know, I think they're just perfect for that. And, you know, who knows where this kind of iconic thing's going to go with Nathan. So, you know, they might not be able to do another tour for a while if he's out doing an iconic tour or something. So who knows? I'd go and check it out. But yes, that's my first choice. What's your next one?
So my next one is a man who I've listened to for years. Started off with Skin Records from my dad as a kid, and this is Mike Gray, and he is doing his Mike Stock shows later this year, where he's moved to the States recently, and I believe that these are his sort of last big shows for the foreseeable. Hoping not forever, but that's just because I'm a fan of his. And that he's doing these last sort of few shows in the end of July. I think he's doing 3 or 4 nights. So he's doing Wolverhampton, he's doing a KK Steel Mill, Leo's Red Line in Gravesend, on Waterloo and Blackpool on the 22nd, 23rd and 24th of July. Obviously going through his back catalogue, so it's a complete celebration of his career. I personally think Mike's one of the greatest songwriters to ever go by every project that he seems to put his hand to. I don't think he often gets the credit he deserves as a songwriter. In the mainstream, certainly. I know that a lot of people, again, when I was working at Stone Dead and got to meet him there, there's a lot of people want to talk to him because of this, you know, how good he is, and the influence he's had on others. And he's got a great band with him. We're talking about Inglorious. Colin, who used to play bass for Inglorious, is playing bass with Mike. He's obviously got Danny Burner Revival on vocals. You know, he's just got a storming lineup. And I saw them just before Christmas. They did the Total Rock 21st anniversary show down at Nambucca with Aaron, Edwin Rivers and all that. And it was a great night. And Mike Gray headlined it, and it was absolutely storming, man. And the stuff that he's been putting out with Shades of Grey has been really cool. So yeah, I just think it'd be a great night and a great celebration of his sort of music across the genres that he's done with Skin and Jagged Edge and his own stuff as well. I believe,
I mean, it could be the last time, at least for a while, that people in the UK can go and check him out. So it does feel a bit of a kind of a moment, doesn't it? Where some, you know, it's going to come to an end of some description anyway. So it's kind of like a last hurrah. So yeah, exactly. I got the vibe just from the poster. I was like, this feels a bit bittersweet this. You know, I haven't even been, you know. I just get it from the picture, but yeah, I can completely back that one. My next pick, it's a pick that you'll be very familiar with. It's Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons, of course. Where can people go and see them, Lee? Yeah,
I don't know.
If we only knew. Obviously, they are your headliner at Just Push Play.
Very lucky to have them headlining, yeah.
I think they've been great. That first album was really good. But I think now they've got Joel in, I feel like they've gone to another level now, in my opinion, anyway.
I think you're right, mate. I really do.
I think Joel is just a perfect fit for them. He's got everything that I want, in a vocalist for that type of music. And I think he also shows that he can, when they do the Motorhead set type stuff, he can do that, no problems. It's just perfect. I mean, initially, if you'd have said the guy from Bootyard Bandits would be the guy fronting them, I'd be like, I wonder how that would work. But it's perfect. It feels like the right thing.
Because I guess I was lucky with that respect, that because he's obviously not released any recordings. I believe they've been working on the album at the moment, but because I hadn't heard any sort of field goal, I think they did a cover of Motorhead Video Pro sort of shot thing that they put up. And Joel was on that. I mean, I was obviously aware of Bootyard Bandits, but I couldn't see how that was going to transit because of the different styles. And then when I saw them at Winter's End when they headlined on the Sunday, it just came out with a force, and they came out to attack, and it was the sheer passion and force of that band was great. And I think you're right. I think it's even more so with no disrespect to Neil, but I thought I love those first two albums, and seeing them with Neil was great. But I feel that's like even more so with Joel.
I just think that they've kind of raised the bar in general, and I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do kind of album wise with Joel now. It's just kind of opened up a whole new thing for them. But that's kind of my next pick. What is your next choice?
So my next choice is a band that I saw the weekend gone at Download Festival, and a band I'd seen a few times before, but because it'd been a few years, I'd almost forgotten how great they are live, and that is Blues Pills.
Yes.
I saw them on Friday in the tent just before Kiss came on. In fact, they were playing as Kiss started, and they were short set, but I don't think anyone would want to try and combat the sort of main stage headliner too much. I think they played for half hour, maybe 40 minutes, but again, it went so quickly, and I've always found that they're a band to sort of be reckoned with, and I think Ellen is a absolute powerhouse vocal. The way she commands the stage is incredible. They've had some lineup changes in recent years, and I think they've not lost any of the reasons I fell in love with them in the first place when I first saw them supporting Rival Sons, and they came out. And I'd heard Devil Man and High Class Woman, but I only sort of knew those two songs, and they came out supporting Rival Sons, and I was like, whoa, it's sort of in the interim between the two bands, immediately sort of go back to the merch store and pick up that first record. And it was they're just, I think they're starting to find their feet and explore a few more avenues musically, and I just think they're one of the best bands around. And it was sort of reminded of that on Friday when we were watching them in the tent. And again, despite the fact that Kiss were playing, and they were playing at the headline in the Dogtooth stage, I had a great crowd in there, and everybody was there for the right reason. The atmosphere was electric. Didn't expect to see Ellen Larson crowd surfing, but she did. I wasn't expecting that, but that was great, and all part of the show. And any time I've seen them live, I've just come away absolutely buzzing. So that's my choice for that choice.
No, they're a band I keep hearing about every so often. Not, they're not somebody I've kind of fully explored really yet, but people keep mentioning it, so maybe I should be.
Right. And Ellen did a song with Picture Books on that album they did last year, where they had like loads of guest people in. And I was expecting, because of Blues Pills and NH, I was expecting a song that was very sort of 70s and very old school and soulful and all that. Not at all. It was very heavy, very almost thrashy in places, but her vocal just suited it. It sounded great.
That's a fair shout, man. My next choice, it's a band that I've done a bit of work with as well. It's the Howling Tides. I saw them they did a headline gig at the Rescue Rooms in Nottingham I went to go and take some photos there as well with them. And at that point, when they did the headline show, it's kind of, the proper showcase of what they can do. You're not being rushed, you're doing a little support slot or whatever it is. And they just really struck me as like, they're this great live band. Really? And, they're ridiculously young still. Hayden looks about 4 years old. I was half expecting them not to let him in, but they've got this great sound, and it's great classic rock, music, and it's they've got catchy songs, and there's just this full package with them, and I think. Again, it's a band that's Just Push Play, but I think that they're a band that every time you see them, they're better. You've talked about this as well with other acts, and they're always improving. And I'm interested to see when they're going to release this damn first album. I've heard EPs, like just get on with it. but I suppose the only way at the minute that you can see a proper kind of full thing from them is to go and see them live. I noticed when they recently did the tour, Ricky Warwick. Yeah. And I noticed that when they were doing that I was getting a lot more comments and messages to the Just Push Play page going, that's the guys that were supporting Howling Tides, that were supporting Ricky Warwick, isn't it? Yeah. Great, I've just bought my tickets. There was a lot of people who they seem to win over on that tour. And I think they're also a band that unmistakably has that sound. They've got that. I think they've already, there's the great bands. As soon as you hear that first riff kick in, that first note, that first hit of the drum, you go, oh, that's Rival Sons, that's Black Stone Cherry, that's Soundgarden, that's Alice in Chains, that's whoever it may be. And I think they're one of the bands out there that instantly got that. As soon as you hear a note, it's Howling Tides. Yeah, I completely agree with that, man. It's they definitely have that signature thing already. Like they left me kind of wanting more after it. It was like, I want to go, as I say, I want to go and buy a bloody full album now, but I can't. It doesn't exist, But it'd be interesting to see where they go in the future as well. And I think that ticket price will be increasing in the future as they move up the bill. So I'd definitely go and see them now. And you mentioned there about them kind of winning over crowds. I remember at that gig at the Rescue Rooms, there was some ladies that were throwing bras at them. So
it was a good time for a rock band.
Yeah, it was always. I was going to say that's always a good sign. It's kind of a first for me seeing that kind of behaviour. So, right, there must have been something right. Yeah,
yeah. So only two more left, man. So it's a band that I was been looking forward to seeing since I first heard the EP last year, and then their album. A band I know you like as well, and a band I saw at the weekend at Download Festival. That's Dirty Honey. I was a big fan of I got into them because, as you know, I'm a huge Aerosmith nut, and Tom Hellman, bass player Aerosmith, shared a tweet, and it just said, "Best cover of Back in the Saddle I've ever heard." And I was like, "Oh, cool! I'll listen to that. If it's good enough for Tom Hellman, good enough for me." And it was Dirty Honey doing Back in the Saddle. I was like, these guys are great. Surely they're doing their own material. And fortunately, it just linked straight up to the EP at that point. And yeah, great songs, great band. I was getting a lot of reminded, like I say, very much like the first time I heard Rival Sons. Yeah, just sort of instantly grabbed me as much as Rival Sons did. And I was like, man, this is great. And when we did the album show last year, that was up on my list for a very good reason, and I was very excited to see him at Download. Their first UK show, I believe. I think that's what they said on the day.
The first one.
The very first one. Yeah. I thought they were doing some warm-up shows afterwards, but it looks like they were sort of filling in because they're doing some European festivals as well. And I think they're doing Grass Pop and possibly.
Yeah, I had a look at their tour dates. It seems like they're doing a couple of fillers now. So they did. At the time of recording this, they had a show right out in Glasgow. I think it was like a couple of nights ago, or even last night. And then they'll be linking up with Rival Sons, which isn't bad, is it?
That was one where, like, when Rival Sons they were doing, the Pressure and Time album, I was like, that's just that I was already happy that they were
I got the ticket, and then they were like, "Oh, Derry Honey's going to be joining." I was like, "Hang on a minute."
I did exactly the same as you. As soon as because they're playing Norwich, which is sort of like 45 minutes up the road from us. So I was like, brilliant. They're playing Norwich, fantastic. Royal Sons, hand down. That's great. And then I started hearing rumours down sort of some contacts I got through my radio show and stuff that there was a possibility that it might be maybe Dirty Honey. And I'm like, I'm not listening to them because I'll get my hopes up and then I'll get disappointed. And then sure enough, a couple of days later, it was announced that it was Dirty Honey. And I was like, for you, exactly the same as you. I was like, brilliant. That's even, I would have paid the money that I've paid for the Rival Sons tickets to see Dirty Honey. So,
yeah, exactly. I said the exact same thing. I was like, I would have paid to have gone and seen them on my own anyway, just as that. But the thing which struck me when they had that EP out, in particular, that's kind of when I was first introduced to them, was the that track "When I'm Gone." That's the first one I heard, and I was like, "This is a cool band." They make me feel cool listening to them, And they've just got that great kind of classic rock sound, and it's fun.
It is. They played "When I'm Gone" at Download, and it was like I say, they were on 11 o'clock in the morning on the opening the second stage, and it's like there's a lot of people with hangovers, and some people haven't been to bed. They had a great crowd, and it was early morning set, so. But people were still singing along to the tunes. People were still enjoying. There was still a hype. I bumped into, I didn't see him during the set, but I saw him just after Danny, who we was talking about earlier, Revival Black. He was a little way back from where we were, and I catch up with Danny about it, and he was excited. I know he got to meet the guys the night before when he was sort of walking about in the guest area and stuff, and got to meet them. And it was just one of those sets that just felt really electric. It was full of energy, and they came out. And they came out, and they're in admittedly, as much as the sun was out this year at Download, they're still in a field in Donington, you know what I mean? And they came out in full California rock star regalia, which is exactly what I wanted them to come out as. I didn't want them to come out in jeans and t-shirt or whatever. They came out full of things. Everyone's in shades, and it's just like, you're fucking cool, you are.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's disgraceful.
And then
how can you look that good in a field in Donington?
Exactly. And then when they did "When I'm Gone," the whole crowd took it away from him. It was one of those moments where the whole crowd sang. It was like,
that's interesting for a band that hasn't even played in this country yet.
Yeah,
there's
a crowd. I mean, I'm not going to say that they didn't have as big a crowd as like Kiss or something, but they had a very decent crowd. There was a lot of people there to see him in the morning, which especially that time on the Saturday after everyone's gone for it on the Friday, it says a lot, I think. And when they finished on "When I'm Gone." So when they finished on there and they got to the chorus and everyone just took it away from him, it was like that moment you were like, there really is something special about these guys. It's not just this little cult band that I've ticked my boxes for whatever reason that I've come across, and there is something really exciting there. And like you say, they're also about to tour with Rival Sons, and it's such a great pairing. So if anyone's watching this and is going to see Rival Sons like we are, you're in for a treat if you've not heard them yet.
It's a perfect pairing, I feel. You've got it's just going to be like a great night of classic rock. I mean, I know a lot of people choose sometimes to skip the support, but with Dirty Honey in particular, I'd say do not choose to do that. Don't, because you'll regret it, because they'll come back and they'll be charging like the same money for that Rival Sons are charging, so you can essentially see them for free.
Good return.
This is it. But great choice. The only reason why they're not in my list is because I was 100% certain that you'd go for them. So I was like, we can't have too many duplicates. But they are definitely a band to check out. My penultimate choice for this summer is Florence Black.
Oh,
You know, I saw them a while ago now with when they supported Chris Barris.
okay.
And they came out and it was like, Jesus, like this is a good band, you know. They feel like a well-oiled machine. They felt like the headliner band. Do you know what I mean? Like it didn't feel like the support band. They've just got this edge about them, I think, in my opinion. And you know, I'd heard of them before, you know, before I saw them live, but for whatever reason, I hadn't, you know, fully dived into them and kind of got into them really. But after seeing them live, it completely changed my opinion. I was like, you know, I'm now going to definitely go away and like listen to everything they've done. Because there is this energy, like, again, it's like the Dirty Honey thing. It's like this is cool. It's there's something about them. I noticed that Tristan, he's got like a TikTok or something that's kind of exploded.
It's got mental in it for him.
Yes, you know, he's getting shared by like some very top draw musicians at this point. So I think again they're another band that are on the rise, and you know that they're obviously doing a kind of a little tour in this summer, various dates and stuff, which you can see in the description below for all of these bands. But they're also having another one in October as well, which I'll be going to check out. Yeah,
my tickets to the Norwich date on that October run already. I was fortunate to have them play Just Push Play last year, and one of I want to say last minute addition because I was already looking for them for this year. What would have been this year, but we had a you know, someone had to pull out, so it was a case of right, okay, we're going to get, and spoke to Perry and Tristan, and they're like, yeah, we'll do it. And it was just as simple as that. Like, when is it? Yeah, we're free, we'll do it. Brilliant. Here's our booking agent's details, finalise at him, but we're in. And I knew their booking agent anyway, because he was also looking at some other bands that I was sort of thinking, and I think it went from like a disaster of this band's gone kaput, they no longer exist anymore, and they can't play, to I've got Florence Black filling that slot within 10-12 hours, if that. And that was like 10-12 hours, including the contract coming through from the booking agent who sent it over the following day.
That's not bad, is it?
No, it was really quick turnaround. And I think I've caught them lucky because, and I'm not saying this in any derogatory way to what I do with Just Push Play, because obviously I'm very, very proud of it. But if I think in a few years' time that I wouldn't have got them in the slot. If they played middle of the bill, you know, this year they would have had to be much higher up the bill, in my opinion. From there, and they're only going to keep going that way. You know, they're a band that I would love to have come back and headline Just Push Play one day, and I'll put that out there now. And you say they're just, despite this is meant to sound as a compliment, and I hope the boys will take it as so. My mum hates rock music, right? She's not a rock fan. I got my love of rock from my dad. But every year, bless her, because of Just Push Play and the reasons I put it on, she comes along. And there was always like one band every year where it pricks their ears up, and I go, what? Well, of all the bands on that bill, I thought you might like a more acoustic act or a softer band. Like 2019, it was Hollister. She fell in love with Hollister. And last year it was Florence Black, and the heaviest band I had on the day. And my mum's like, I really enjoyed those. They're really good. And I'm like, okay. And I will love Perry for this forever. At the end of the night, my mum decided she was going to help me out, and she was taking away the merch money that we got from obviously selling t-shirts and stuff. So I didn't have to worry about that. But she then left the venue and realised she couldn't get back in. So she went round the back, and bear in mind, my mum didn't have a backstage pass or anything like that. So she went round the back where basically the Florence lads were having a cigarette, and just all went, I need to go back. And they're like, well, who are you? And told Perry who she was. And he just threw his arm around, right, we'll get you backstage. And he looked after my mum, bless him. And I was completely unaware of this, and I was packing away, and I went into like the green room, the backstage, and there's like Perry and my mum having a beer and a natter, and I'm like, Mum, how did you get? And she's like, oh, Perry let me in. I'm like,
yeah, just me and my new best friend.
yeah, we're hanging out. It's fine. Don't worry. Your mum's
Yeah.
all right. I'm like, okay, fine. But yeah, I think anyone who never missed a chance to see Florence Black. I was actually thinking that when I was a download, watching certain bands on the Rising stage and open stage, was seeing the Crows on the main stage on the Saturday, and that got to a conversation between me and Joe of, if you could fill that slot next year with any band of the Rising side of things who you think deserve it or who you think would make waves, got to be Florence Black.
Yeah.
I think if you put them on that sort of early main stage or even mid-billing on the second stages, wherever you put them, I think if you put them in the Dogtooth stage, the Rising stage, I think it'd be rammed. I don't think you would get in because they're getting such a good following. Like Wagons, when they played on the Sunday, they had a great crowd for Wagons on Sunday on the second stage, which is essentially the same size as the main stage. But yeah, I just thought Andy Coppin, it's about time to do something like this. I mean, obviously, I'm sure he watches Beyond the Vibe all the time, so he'll.
He's waiting. He's going, what, Lee?
Write that down, Florence Black.
Yeah.
But never miss a chance.
I agree. I mean, I enjoy their album, but I think live they're on another level currently. There's just this energy about them that I really love.
There is, and for a three-piece, there's sound that they create.
It's ridiculous because that was the thing I was thinking in my head. I was like, can they? There's only three of them. Can they sound that big as they do on the record? Is there a bit of a thing going on there where they're just kind of bumping things up a bit? But no, it's great live.
I mean, the first time I saw him was supporting Hollistar in Cambridge. It was about 2-3 years back now. And I didn't know that they had them and Matt Mitchell and Cold Hearts opened up, and then it was Florence Black and Hollistar finishing the night. And my mate Gary, who I stood with, was like, "Have you seen Florence Black before?" And I went, "No, I hadn't heard a song. I didn't know anything about them." And he's like, "Okay, I know you'll enjoy this, but you're in for a treat." And they came on, and like you say, they came out with that attitude of not trying to. And I don't mean it's derogatory, but I think every band worth their merit will always try and upstage the headliner, not to like an ego thing, but to we're as good as these guys.
Yeah, it's like we could be the main band. Yeah,
and I think if you don't come out with that attitude, then it's kind of pointless. If you come out with the attitude of it's their show, you're not going to give it your best. But there's nothing better for me than when you see a tour and it's like every single one of these bands on the bill could have headlined. They could have rotated at any point. Last year, we mentioned it on the album thing where I saw Mason Hill, Empire playing the same show, and Hollistar on the bill as well as Empire, Mason Hill, and Hollistar. And any one of those bands could have headlined it that night. And I think that's important. And I think Florence Black go out with that same attitude of, right, it's this band's show, but for the next 45 minutes or however long they're on stage, that's ours. I think that's important, and I think it comes across in their delivery as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. Before we get into our top choices, do you have any honourable mentions? We've got anybody who didn't quite make the cut?
There was a few, and I'll be honest, it was mainly because one, I could have quite happily listed the 10 bands that were all playing Just Push Play.
Yes.
Really cheap. But I've deliberately not mentioned all of them. Just to try and be fair. Is there any other event that's going on?
You just feel like each time, and you can see them.
Where can we see them? You could see them.
Yeah.
So it was obviously any band that has ever played, and goes into the future as well. Bands that I've got locked in already for next year. That means the world to me, and I will always support any band that's been gracious enough to honour me with their presence and play on the stage. But there was a couple of bands that I nearly went on them, and it was on the cusp of the tours. Actually, one of them was Florence Black because I completely forgot about the summer dates, and I was thinking about that October.
I did have to have a good look around. I had a route around on the tour dates, and I was like, oh, they've got some in August, so I can get away with this.
And another one for me, going back to Download, and I know they're doing some other shows, including a headline appearance at Love Rocks Festival. My friends who run that, and they're on a great 2-day show down there. And that was Wayward Sons. They're always just great band live. Toby Jefferson is just, again, one of the finest songwriters going. The band themselves, Sam and Nick and Phil, are fantastic musicians. I've got to know them a little bit through working with Stone Dead and interviewing them a few times and stuff for the radio show. A great band, great people, and I've never been to a show and felt cheated. You know, you never feel like they're honing it in or just phoning it in, whatever. You know, you always feel like every show you go to, they give 110%. And I guess the only reason that they didn't get in was maybe I was trying to put on bands that maybe people not necessarily weren't aware of, but maybe weren't aware of the dates. You know, Wayward Sons ones were fairly publicised, and they're doing headline appearances. So it was about checking out bands that they're either doing special shows like Mike Gray, who's obviously looks like it's going to be his last shows in the UK for a while, or bands that were coming up the ranks a bit more.
No, I completely agree with that. That's pretty much kind of a similar approach on what I was looking at there. You know, I didn't want to go down the too obvious kind of stuff. You know, it's you don't want to do that. But my kind of honourable mention, he only went into the honourable mention category purely because by the time this is released, he'll be in Europe. He won't be in the UK. But if you're in Europe, I would still say check him out. It's Jack Broadbent, you know, the chap that I've been interviewing recently.
See, I hadn't heard him until you had him on Beyond the Vibe. And by coincidence, his single had been sent to me the same week that you had had him on Beyond the Vibe. So I listened to that, and I was like, because I enjoyed the interview. It was a good interview. And I was like, I like this guy, I like the sound of him. And then went back and I was like, because it's bad, I know, but I'll get quite a lot of promo and stuff for the radio shows.
Yeah, you get to see his stuff,
and you get to see the stuff, and sometimes people just filter into stuff and it becomes part of the blur of emails. But when you see the thing, I was like, hang on, I'm sure that guy sent me a single earlier this week. I always mark them as unread, so at some point I will go back and eventually listen to stuff. But it's natural, isn't it? The band you get sent that you already know you like, you're gonna pick that up. But after hearing that, I was like, okay, I'm going to go back through this, and it was the same guy, and his music's fantastic, man. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah,
he's you know, it's so simple. It's, you know, it's him, his slide guitar and an amp. There's nothing else. You know, particularly live. It's just that's all it is. And it just goes right back to, you know, that kind of blues rock roots. And he does it so well. I mean, he's a really good musician, and you know, he's a really cool guy. I mean, we get on quite well now. It's you know, it's very kind of down to earth dude. But musically, you know, he's played with like Ronnie Wood. You know, I mean, and people with, you know, he's done some crazy stuff. I mean, he supported Leonard Skinner a few years ago. He's a big cheese. You know, he's Lincoln lad as well. You know, fairly local to where I am, and but yeah, he's gone out to America and kind of been building his reputation out there, and he's I mean, as I said, by the time this is recorded, he will have finished it. But he's doing a short kind of UK tour, I presume, to kind of test the water, because even though he's English, it's almost like he's kind of American. He's coming over here for the first time in a few years, trying to build that kind of
it sounds quite American. His sound is like his music sounds quite more, I imagine, would go for American mainstream stereotypically.
Yeah, it's just an interesting guy. I mean, he started off in busking. You know, he's just busking on the street and just had like a viral video.
It's crazy.
It's you know, I love stories like that. It's you know, people like that I always want to go and kind of check out and support, because it's, you know, particularly in this era, I think that's the great thing about the internet. You can have a guy that 1 minute is on the street, you know, just busking away. Next minute he's supporting Leonard Skinner. You know, would that have happened in any other era? I don't know. You know, it's an interesting one. But yes, if you're out in Europe at the time of recording this, I believe he's doing some dates in Germany and Holland and all that. I know we have a few people that do listen from Germany, so go and check him out. Getting into the nitty gritty with our top choices.
Yeah.
What is Lee Graham's top choice?
We said we were doing thing too obvious, but I think this might be the most obvious choice I've done.
Here we go.
It's Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons. It's got to
be. It was. I was going to say it'd be outrageous if you left out your headlining act.
Yeah. I just went, you know what? I'm not really bothered about this year's acts. Don't worry about it. Yeah. But no, this like I said earlier, any band who's ever played Just Push Play, all got a special place in my heart. For the very first one we did, we were in the back room of a pub, and it was mates bands. All the way through to the last few years that we've been doing it at the Apex. But not to go over the same story over and again, but as everyone knows, I set up this festival in memory of my dad, and with the hospice I looked after him. And to have Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons headline is particularly special to me. I can't tell you how many times me and Dad went to see Motorhead together. I
was going to say, you've got a guy that was in Motorhead headlining your...
And I remember, Motorhead was one of the first, and I mean this properly, respectfully, one of the first down, dirty, gritty rock shows I went to. First show I went to was Aerosmith at Wembley Stadium. My dad took me to that. Then it was big day out thing at Milton Keynes Bowl. We went to Metallica headline that. And it was Bon Jovi at Wembley Stadium. And then it was like Norwich, UEA, Motorhead, Inferno tour. And my cat is scratching the hell out of everything. 1 second.
That's cool. I heard something going on there, and I thought, what's happening here?
What are you doing?
Demolishing furniture.
It's because I didn't mention Ginger Wildheart. That's what it is. But yeah, I went from big stadium shows, which were great, but then going to see Motorhead at the UEA for the first time, the Inferno Tour 2003 was incredible. And we went to see it many times. I mean, I studied at the UEA, and it was kind of an ongoing thing. They're like, well, we know we've got one gig in October because they always toured till October, November time, and 9 times out of 10 they came around to the UEA, and it was always a great show. So there's a lot of memories tied up with Motorhead and my dad. So to have them, or have Phil Campbell himself headline a show that I put on for my dad, is a lot to me. And on top of that, they're just an incredible band. When Lemmy Sally passed away, and obviously Mickey D went on to play with the Scorpions, and Phil Campbell had started doing it. I think they originally called it the All-Star Band when he was just sort of doing covers and stuff with the guys, and then they brought out their first EP. Tracks like Spiders on. I'm like, Phil's still got something to say here. This is great. This is really cool. It's really enjoyed it. And then the Age of Absurdity album comes out, and you're like, this is incredible. I flew out to Hamburg to see him for a mate's birthday a couple of years ago, just before lockdown kicked in, and had a great weekend. And there's just a lot of memories tied up in that band, both since and before. And having most recently watching them at Winter's End Festival, first time seeing them with Joel out front, like we were saying earlier, and they're just a force live, and I can't wait to watch them tear the Apex a new one, basically. If anyone's thinking of going, please come along. Simple as that. If you've already got your tickets, thank you, and I hope you have a great time.
It's I mean, they are like a band that are going to be. I think again, it's another band that's building each time.
I was really surprised is that they've not done Download yet.
Really, I just assumed they had.
Yeah, so had I. We were talking about this because when I was watching Crows, obviously we had headline last year, and Wagons were there, who I had headline in 2019. And we're playing. And my mates who were with were like, what's it like, having a band that you put on that stage, the stage you watch when you were 17 and we used to come. I was like, it's a bit crazy, and you said anything. I've had dealings with those guys, and we were talking about that, and I was like, well, they're like, well, surely so and so's played, and who's anyone else played? And I was like, I'm Phil Campbell Bastard Sons, and they were like, I don't think they have, and I'm like, and then I thought about it, and I thought, actually, no, the times that I've seen Phil on that stage was with Motorhead. I saw I saw Tyler's band there, Straight Lines, in the 10 years ago. So he'd played. But yeah, I found it a bit weird.
That is an anomaly. Strange one.
I think it happens sometimes. There's certain bands you just assume have played, and for whatever reason, it could be a number of things. It could be diary clashes, whatever. When you're organising something on that scale, I know what it's like doing 9 bands in one venue, to try and do 150 plus bands on 4 stages on 3 days. I don't even want to think about the logistics.
I know.
Hats off to Mr. Popping and his team, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they think he's played.
Everybody's sitting there going, "What?
Yeah,
what? What do you mean he hasn't?"
Exactly. Maybe they believe it, but yeah, I completely agree with everything, man. It's I imagine that it is a very cool moment to have. Essentially, the closest you're gonna get to Motorhead play. That's near as damn it. That's it's as good as you're gonna get, I think.
Oh, Joe will tell you. When I got the email come through, I'd sort of been talking to them, or talking to their management, and it was sort of going back and forth, and discussing the logistics and everything else that you've got to talk about. We were sat in our kitchen having dinner, and my phone pinged up with an email, and I saw it come up, the subject like Phil Campbell, and I'm like, I'll just have a sneaky look. I should. And I was like, I literally, like, it was just like a drop the fork kind of moment. And Joe's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, I couldn't even tell her. I just sort of showed the email and like, read this, I was so excited, and I'm still excited. And that's why I could have put on every single band that is playing at Just Push Play, because that's what I've always tried to do with Just Push Play, is to have bands that make me feel that way. Whether they're the band opening up, we've got Gallus Circus opening, and I love Gallus Circus to bits. They're another Storm band live. And, you got everyone all the way through the ranks, and then Phil Campbell closing the night. And it's just, I try to always make a band that like lineup I'd want to see, and without doubt, this is another one where I've gone, look back at them, we got 6 weeks away now, and looking at that lineup again and going, how did that happen? How did I get this? But no, I'm just fortunate, that's all.
No, you've done really well this year, man. Moving in, my top choice. It's an obvious one. There's one that's been left that many will go, well, that's bloody obvious. It's Rival Sons. I've gone with Rival Sons because, and that was kind of part of the reason to why I didn't include Dirty Honey, because if you're going to go and see Rival Sons, you'll probably see Dirty Honey. The odds are. But yeah, I went with Rival Sons because obviously they've got the Pressure and Time thing, the special kind of anniversary set, and who knows when we're going to see something like that again. Who knows if they play most of that album. In a set again, because they've got this growing catalogue at this point.
Would you? And they're 5-6 albums in now?
They're more than that, I think they're about 7th.
So you had Before the Fire, Pressure and Time, Get Down, Great Western Valkyrie, Hollow Bones Part 1, Feral Roots, 6. So they're going on to 7th.
7th, yeah, closing in on 7. So it's, at this point, you add another album onto that. It's going to be hard to fill in, particularly some of these kind of older songs, perhaps. Something's going to be left out at some point. And they're just, particularly on this show as well, every time I do the one band from the past, one band from the present, who is the reoccurring band that always comes up 9 times out of 10? It's Rival Sons. Yeah. So, of course, we have to complete the circle, and have them on my mention. They're obviously a band that many people have admired, the musicians. And yeah, they for me, they're kind of the top band of this kind of new classic rock that's knocking about. Yeah. I think they're kind of that front runner. Many would argue Greta Van Fleet, but for me, I think because they're they're more experienced, as we just mentioned there, they're nearly at 7 albums at this point. So they've got this amazing catalogue of songs. Yeah, for me, they have everything that I want to see in a band.
I can't think of a band on that scene at the moment that are better. I can't.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to think now, and right now I can't say that there's somebody that I would want at the top of a bill more. Yeah. I don't have anybody.
See, the first time I saw it was around the Pressure and Time era. I'd heard the single, and I got to be honest, it was a bit of a special album for me because it snapped me out of a bad headspace. It came out not long after my dad passed away, and with music being so close to us, I kind of stopped listening to a lot of stuff, or certainly not as enjoying it as much as I once did. And then I heard the Pressure and Time, and that just completely snapped me out of it. It was like, bang, right, that's something for me. And that primal thing that goes off in your head when a really good band hits you, just like couldn't be stopped. And then it turned out that I had the Pressure and Time, went and bought the album, fell in love with that, and then turned out within sort of 6 weeks after buying the album, I then realised that they were playing both Sonosphere and High Voltage Festival, both of which I already had tickets for. Oh. So I went from like not knowing them to falling in love with the album to seeing them twice within about 6-8 weeks. And it was insane. And what was great, when they played Sonosphere Festival, they played the Jaeger stage, so like the Rising stage. And they were between, Sonosphere used to set out between the two main stages. So you had to walk past the Rising stage to get between the two main, which were flicking back and forth band-wise. And when I got there, there was a decent crowd for them, a couple hundred people or something like that was watching them. And then towards the end of the set, then they were doing Burn Down Los Angeles. And I turned around and you could just see people going all the way back up to the brow of the hill where people had just been walking past and going, fucking hell, what's that? And, and diving in and saving for the set. It was incredible to watch. And to see a band at that point, actually quite new to the UK, have that kind of pull when you had, the likes of, Metallica and everyone else who were playing that year, going on between things. It was like, that says a lot.
Yeah.
And to see that early on was really exciting. And I don't think they've ever lost that pull. If anything, it's grown.
Yeah. I completely agree. I mean, for me, I think Jay, in particular, his vocals are insane. He's, in my opinion, he's certainly one of the best out there right now. So there's everything. I mean, it's Scott with it. There's so many people that I can see now that are trying to do a similar thing to what Scott's doing. Yeah. I think when you start and see other bands try and kind of or take influence from little bits and bobs that they're doing, it just shows the effect that they're having. Particularly in the UK, it's an interesting one. As I say, you see so many bands that are like, "Oh, I'd love to tour Rival Sons."
Yeah.
So it's
says a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It does say a lot. But yes, that is our top choices. It's another summer of interesting stuff, and people can go and check out Just Push Play. Obviously, go and get your tickets now. It's July 30th, isn't it?
It is, mate. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Look at that! I pulled that out, didn't I?
Even I struggle with the date sometimes.
I forget every date, But yes, obviously, the link is in the description for Just Push Play. Go and get your tickets. It'll be, a great day.
Cheers, man.
So we'll see you next time.
'Cause we're the bastards.